You didn't meet them. You remembered them. Their name arrived in your mouth before it reached your mind. They weren't new. They were returned. You looked at them and felt the absence of 1,000 years. You knew how they'd leave. And still you stayed. The ache wasn't heartbreak. It was soul time folding in on itself. You didn't fall, you recognized. Their silence was familiar. That's how you knew. You have lost them before. That's why it felt so final. They knew your softness before you spoke. Your body flinched, like it remembered the last goodbye. They looked at you like a home they lost in fire. Some stares are past life collisions. The longing came before the love. You grieved them while holding them. Their goodbye didn't sound like the first. They kissed you like they owed you lifetimes. They carried your grief in their eyes. You weren't meant to love again, but your soul remembered. You didn't miss them. You missed who you were with them. You were the ending they didn't survive last time. Their touch knew your shape like ritual. The pain fit too well to be new. You were both too tired to try again. Their breath felt like prayer you'd forgotten. You didn't choose them. You honored a vow. You held them like something ancient. You met them before your name was yours. They said nothing and still you shattered. You weren't healed. You were familiar. You were not strangers. You were echoes. Their eyes knew yours like ruins, no fire. You carried them in dreams before birth. That ache in your ribs is their absence repeating. You held their hand like it was a relic. They blinked, and something sacred woke inside you. You forgave them before they ever hurt you. They left like they were used to it. You didn't chase. You mourned. Their soul pulled yours like tide to moon. Your pulse slowed the moment they entered the room. You weren't in love. You were in memory. You knew their laughter, but not their story. Their voice collapsed timelines in your chest. You whispered, "You're back," and didn't know why. They touched your face like reading scripture. You didn't recognize their clothes, just their grief. They weren't a stranger. They were unfinished. You were the prayer they once died whispering. If this touched your soul, don't scroll, comment your favorite quote, and subscribe for more. Their presence woke something buried under your ribs. They looked lost. You felt it too. Their shadow felt older than this life. You carried a scar shaped like their goodbye. Their silence met yours mid-century. They held your sorrow like they'd carried it before. Your hands trembled like the veil had thinned. Their leaving replayed across lifetimes. You never said what you came to. They smelled like safety and unfinished stories. You couldn't breathe after they left, because part of you didn't. The bond didn't begin, it echoed. Your chest burned like an old promise was breaking. They looked away like they'd done it before. You loved them with muscle memory. They left footprints in your dreams. Their name still pulses beneath your skin. You weren't obsessed. You were haunted. You loved them fast, because it wasn't the first time. Your heartbreak had déjà vu. They tasted like prophecy you never got to finish. You ran because you knew how it ended. Their grief lived behind their smile. You kissed like you were unburying something. They were familiar like winter to old bones. They saw you, but not this you. Their absence hummed like unfinished spell work. You tried to hold what was never yours in this life. You felt their name before they spoke it. They left. Again. You loved like your life depended on it, because it once did. Their goodbye rewrote your sleep. They forgot you. You remembered anyway. They never knew how to stay, even before. Your sadness didn't belong to now. They lit something holy in your blood. You died loving them once. Your hands remembered their hair. They touched you like they were apologizing. Their pain mirrored yours too precisely. You remembered them, but they'd already unlearned you. You begged in silence. So did they. Their kindness felt ancient. They looked at you with unfinished sentences. Your ache arrived before the moment did. They left without knowing they'd been found. You never got your lifetime with them, just the reminder. Their arms felt like old doors. You didn't imagine it. Your soul simply remembered. You were the echo. They were the absence. They stared like they were looking through lifetimes. You didn't want them. You knew them. You mourned them while they still stood beside you. You said hello like it hurt. They forgot what your heart still carried. You were the ending they'd once begged for. They vanished like smoke you'd once lived inside. You blinked and a century passed. They loved you like memory, not choice. You were familiar, not safe. You weren't lost, you were returned. Your hands knew how to hold them without instruction. Their voice vibrated the bones of your oldest life. You knew their pain like a script. You felt sacred around them and scared. Their warmth felt rented, not owned. You saw their shadow before their smile. Your soul knew not to beg. You waited lifetimes for the moment they forgot. You are not crazy. You are remembering. They left slowly like unwriting a poem. Your grief had layers their touch didn't reach. Their fear looked just like yours. You held them like a relic. They looked like someone you should have forgiven long ago. You tried again anyway. You begged the universe to stop sending echoes. They smiled like they were sorry. You missed their soul, never just the body. They felt realer in dreams. You fell into their eyes and hid a memory. You loved them in silence like last time. They forgot. You endured. You didn't imagine it. You inherited it. Their presence broke timelines. You left part of yourself behind. They stirred the sleeping gods in you. You forgave faster than you understood. You loved hard because it wasn't your first goodbye. They couldn't give what you once died for. Their shadow lingered in your ribcage. Your spine remembered something you never said. You caught their scent and nearly wept. They never asked, but your soul answered. You didn't need closure. You needed awakening. They looked through you like a veil. Their voice felt like a forgotten prayer. You didn't want forever. You wanted one more try. You whispered their name like a spell you shouldn't say. If this touched your soul, don't scroll. Like, comment your favorite quote and subscribe for more. You knew them before memory. That's why goodbye still echoes. Their eyes didn't introduce themselves. They remembered. It wasn't love at first sight, it was recognition. You didn't meet them. You returned. Some stares aren't new, they're homecomings. They knew how to hurt you because they once knew how to hold you. That ache in your chest? Your soul remembering a life that ended mid-sentence. You only loved them that fast because you already had. It was never about this life. It was about the unfinished one. Not every soul you lose is meant to return. You weren't lovers this time, but the pull remained. They couldn't stay. They already stayed once before. Their absence stings like déjà vu. You touched hands, and every other lifetime blurred. They didn't break your heart. They reminded it. This isn't the first time you've wept their name. You weren't crazy. You were remembering. When they walked away, so did the version of you that once stayed. Your grief is old, older than your name. What you mistook for chemistry was memory. You swore you'd find them again, and you did. You couldn't unlove them. You'd done it too many times before. Their goodbye hurt more than it should have. That's how you know. They looked at you like they'd waited lifetimes. They had. Your soul screamed their name before your mouth did. They weren't new. They were returning. That pain wasn't from now. It was from every ending before this one. You weren't wrong. You were remembering. You were born with the memory of their eyes. They touched you, and your bones sighed again. You never stopped loving them. You just forgot how. This life couldn't hold what the last one lost. You weren't meant to stay, just to remember. They left before, but this time you watched. You carried their name in your dreams before they ever spoke it. That wasn't heartbreak. That was soul fracture. You fell apart like a story unfinished. They weren't the love of your life. They were the echo. Their laugh unlocked a room you hadn't entered in lifetimes. You looked away because it hurt to remember. They didn't recognize you, and that was the real loss. This isn't your first lifetime grieving them. You ran because you couldn't lose them again. They kissed you like they owed you centuries. That first glance held 1,000 endings. You weren't ready this time, but your soul was. Some loves don't survive the shift between lifetimes. They didn't choose you. They remembered you. The connection wasn't instant, it was eternal. If this touched your soul, don't scroll, comment your favorite quote, and subscribe for more. That's why their scent felt like safety. They haunted you before you ever met them. You didn't love wrong. You loved across time. Some hearts know each other before they beat. You didn't fall in love. You re-entered it. They couldn't be yours, but they'd already been. Your goodbyes shook the earth. Again, they arrived late. Or maybe you did. You searched for them in strangers for years. Their silence sounded familiar. They said nothing, but your heart answered. You recognized their soul. Your mind just lagged behind. They didn't need to speak. Their soul remembered yours. You gave them grace because they once gave you life. They broke you like someone who once healed you. You trusted them too soon. You weren't wrong. What felt like fate was a reunion. They were your home in another century. You dreamed of them before your first heartbreak. Love like that doesn't begin, it reactivates. They left, but not all of them. That moment felt staged. Because it was. You weren't the one who remembered first. They were. They looked lost because they almost knew you. You recognized the rhythm of their pain. The heartbreak wasn't new, just returned. You left pieces of yourself in every life with them. Some souls don't feel new because they aren't. You were holding a ghost in living skin. They said your name like they'd practiced it. Their betrayal hurt like it had history. You never had a chance. You already loved them. Some souls are mirrors from a past you swore was myth. They reached for you without meaning to. The ache didn't make sense, but it never lied. You weren't naive, just ancient. That was never a crush. That was remembrance. You've cried this exact cry before. They touched you like they'd missed you. This was your reunion, not your beginning. Their face looked like a memory, not a stranger. You forgave them fast because you'd already done it. You didn't chase them, they called you across time. That grief was a key. Their love was never small, just mistimed. They didn't stay, but you still loved what they left. Your soul still walks beside theirs even now. They vanished like they had somewhere older to be. You can't forget them. You were never meant to. You didn't lose them. You met the version that couldn't stay. Every look was a ghost showing its face. You both knew, but only your heart listened. Their energy felt like an old song. You kept remembering what hadn't happened yet. They met you like a secret returning. You felt them before you saw them. Not every soulmate stays. Some just remind. Your goodbye this time was softer, but it still cut. You've been mourning them longer than you've known them. You were never strangers. Just paused. You locked eyes and time bent. They loved you like it was instinct. You knew before they opened their mouth. You forgave things they hadn't done yet. You didn't meet by chance. You remembered on time. You were the echo. They were the voice. Some loves never end, just wait. You made them feel safe. That scared them. The goodbye wasn't for now. It was for then. You were both too human this lifetime. They returned only to remind. You woke up missing them years before meeting them. That heartbreak changed you because it returned you. They didn't love you badly. They loved you broken. You were their piece in the wrong lifetime. Your silence said what lifetimes couldn't. You weren't ready to meet again, but your heart was. Their pain knew yours by name. Their laughter haunted the places they never touched. Your love was timed by fate, not calendars. They showed up right when your soul expected them. This wasn't your first almost. Your bones softened in their presence. You weren't looking, but your soul was. They saw something in you they'd lost long ago. You whispered goodbye like it was sacred. They were never truly gone. Their apology came too late for this lifetime. You met them with lifetimes of softness. They held you like a home they feared losing again. They pulled away like someone afraid of remembering. You were too familiar to be safe. You both knew, but neither said it. You watched them leave again. That wasn't closure. That was karmic silence. They couldn't love you now, but they had. You're not crazy for remembering. They broke your heart, but only because it still belonged. You don't miss them, you miss who they were. If this touched your soul, don't scroll, comment your favorite quote, and subscribe for more.